Hello everyone, I'm Greyshot17. Yes, I'm not dead, at least on this channel. I'm currently going to do a quick review of Godzilla -1. I just got back from the theater and then filmed a review. The audio died, and now we're doing the whole video again. So hopefully you enjoy, because by God, I want to talk about this movie, and I don't care if I have to do it twice in order to talk about this movie. It is so good. It is so good. Godzilla -1, essentially dealing with a Godzilla movie set between 1945 and 1947 in the aftermath of World War II, as Japan is still rebuilding. Godzilla comes in, destroys more of Japan, and brings it down to -1. That's essentially the brief, kind of synopsis of this movie without diving into real spoilers or characters or anything like that. What I will say is, if you're expecting another Godzilla movie, a la the Monsterverse or something like that, this is its own separate thing. It has nothing to do with that, but it is better than those films because it does something very few Godzilla movies attempt to do, and even fewer have: good characters. And I should preface, not just good characters, great characters. This film is filled with characters that are probably on par with just the best characters from other Godzilla movies, right? I think of Godzilla X Mechagodzilla, Bryan Cranston from Godzilla 2014, those types of characters, like the original 1954 characters, those characters that had arcs and depth to them, and they weren't necessarily cheesy or just there for exposition or just kind of there to serve the plot. It's actual characters going through arcs while Godzilla is doing his thing. And Godzilla is absolutely terrifying in this movie because you care about the characters. You care about the main character, whose name's Kochi, and him coming back from World War II, dealing with survivor's guilt and other things like that, and then having to now deal with this thing that is just seemingly unstoppable. And I won't get into too much spoilers about his character, the arc he goes through or anything like that, or any other character in the movie. What I will say is this takes heavy inspiration from other films, from Godzilla films to monster films to Hollywood films. And that's all thanks to the director, Takashi Yamazaki. Hopefully I'm getting that name correct. He directed, he wrote the film, he did the effects for this movie. He did a lot for this film. Now, not the first time he's done this. He's actually done a lot of other films. Fun fact, this is actually not his first Godzilla movie. His first Godzilla movie was, it was Always Sunset on 3rd Street 2 or something along those lines. That's when, I guess he first used, Godzilla, and it was for, a little split-second CGI scene in the beginning. So, apparently, he was approached and be like, hey, do you want to do another Godzilla film? And he's like, sure, why not? And it's not as political or as forceful in its message as Shin. My concern with this movie is that this would make Japan seem like a victim. Oh, woe is me after World War II. The Americans were so bad. To us, we did nothing wrong. That was my fear going in. That is not the case. That's not the message this film portrays. The message itself is not as heavy-handed as Shin, but there is a message here, thanks to some more recent events that happened with Japan, which my brother had to fill me in on. I was like, oh, I had no idea, but that makes a lot of sense given the topics and the themes of this movie. Speaking of which, again, strong cast, really good characters, good overall pacing, again, goes at a very good clip. While there might be some character moments, it's then shortly followed by a Godzilla scene or something to liven it up, so you're constantly going back and forth, and then again it crescendos to an amazing climax, which is great. I should also say that this film does get pretty dark with its themes. Again, it deals with a post-war Japan, so you can only imagine some of the topics that will probably be covered in this era. So again, it could have definitely gone darker. Trust me, they absolutely could have. But for what they did for the story, they hit exactly what they need to, where moments of levity mixed with moments of drama and dread. And that's something, again, that when Godzilla is destroying everything, you care about the characters. And I can't stress that enough because, again, I'm not saying that you don't care about some Godzilla characters in films, genuinely. But the thing is about this one is it's such a strong cast for the entire movie that is the reason why I say it's unlike other, most Godzilla films, right? I would probably say, like, 1954, based on, like, that film among... I'm just kind of going through, like, not, like, those are probably, like, I'm trying to think of, like, a strong overall cast. That's probably one of the strongest. Personally, again, I like Rodan. I like that core cast. If I'm looking at just, like, Toho Kaiju films, again, the Gamera films all typically have very strong casts, especially 3. But, again, this one definitely holds its own, and I'm very thankful for it. By the way, the director apparently was inspired by Gamera 3, as well as Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, 2014, the original, like all sorts of other Godzilla films. So if you're a fan of Godzilla and you've seen all the movies, you'll probably get moments where you're like, I know where that inspiration came from, or that where that inspiration came from, etc. Or even when themes or musical scores or shots are being used, you're like, oh, that's from X movie, etc. And again, I feel like they did such a good job of bringing Godzilla to life. He is CGI, but for the most part, he looks really good for a $15 million. I think it's $15 million budget, at least what they have on Wiki. My brother said it was maybe closer to 20 after all the marketing and such. But again, it's a very cheap movie compared to other big blockbusters, and they do a much better job at making you terrified, and the effects make it look very good compared to other films that just come out this year, right? So again, I tip my hat off to the director, because he did a great job with the effects, he did a great job with the story, and I feel like he knew what he wanted to do, he made a movie about it, and again, it's not too heavy-handed, and it's a good time in the theater. My entire theater was cheering, or saddened, or crying, or, and then by the end, just were applauding. So again, I'm like, I went with a very good, again, I saw there were people older in the crowd, there were definitely kids in the crowd, but everyone was having a good time. Now, kids, might be there's some things in here I'm like, be wary about, but there's nothing like too bloody or out there. It's just definitely some heavy subject matter, especially dealing with at the end and post World War II stuff. But anyway, that's my non-spoiler review. I cannot recommend this movie enough. It's funny because in the last like 2 days I've seen 2 films. I'm like, yeah, man, it's a good day to be a movie fan. But I had high expectations, and it went above and beyond. And I was a little bit worried, but again, the overall story, the arcs, everything is so good that I applaud. I applaud this. This is absolutely my favorite Godzilla movie for everything it hits. Now, maybe I like King of the Monsters more for the fights. Again, this movie is more reminiscent of 1954, so don't go in here expecting King Ghidorah to come in and fight Godzilla or something like that. That's not the purpose of this movie. The purpose of the movie is dealing with Godzilla, and for that, it is especially with just a solo act, it is probably my favorite one, and I cannot wait to see this movie again in theaters, right? So if I had to give like a score or something like that, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10, but just highly recommended. That's overall my personal feeling on it, right? So go check it out. I will say, for those who are wondering, Greyshot, why haven't you put up more content on the channel? Simply put, I did a Mimic review, and copyright just kept hitting it until I was done. And then eventually some other things came up that caused me to go away from the channel. A lot more stressors with my job, a lot more work with my job, especially with the promotion that came this year. My other channel, again, I had a lot more promotions with Code 3 and other things like that. So there's a lot of things that took my attention away. I hope to finish my script and to put out a movie review for The Beast. That is my hope for this year, to have that out by Christmas. But you never know. Again, I want to sit down and get that stuff done, but there's a lot of stuff coming up that I need to work on, so we'll see. But what I think you all should see is Godzilla -1. Again, highly recommend it. And again, I'll say a couple spoiler things. So spoiler. Okay, spoiler section. They play Godzilla vs. Mothra and King Kong vs. Godzilla music, which I know that music. And I immediately looked at my brother, and afterwards I told him, like, that's where those scores are from. And he's like, I don't know. As a Godzilla fan, I am ashamed, 151, that you did not know that, because he works for Toho Kingdom, essentially. He works for part of the website. So the fact that I knew it instead of him, I know some Godzilla stuff more than you. Maybe. Anyway, probably not, no. But also, I really enjoyed all the kind of stuff they do as homage to other stuff. Godzilla, at the end of the movie, he's essentially just like a couple pieces, and he's then starts regrowing himself like GMK. He's an absolute asshole, so he kind of reminds me of the GMK Godzilla, with purposely killing people and just be like, hey, he's doing his thing. And again, I also like the fact that there's like how they kill Godzilla is a mixture of kind of like the Oxygen Destroyer, but not. They essentially just make Godzilla fall so he's covered in bubbles, but he just, because of the I guess it was oxygen or something being lifted out of the water, it makes anything in it just drop and sink. So the idea is to give Godzilla the bends. I wish I was kidding. It's to essentially make him drop, make pressure hit him before he can acclimate, and then bring him back up, so that way again he deals with the bends. I absolutely enjoy that. And then of course the main character, who's a kamikaze pilot who was tasked with killing himself, didn't, and then Godzillasaurus, which is another, like, oh my god, kills everyone on the island except for a few. The engineer blames him for not doing something to potentially kill Godzillasaurus, so he's like, you're a coward. But in the end, after seeing like him lose his family, essentially when he gets back from Japan, finds this woman and a baby. They, again, not her baby, but just a baby. All of them lost people in air raids, and I love how it was air raids, because again, the firebombing of like Japan was so catastrophic. Because I mean, more people, I'm 99% sure, but more people died in firebombing than actually from the nuclear bombs. So it's one of those things where it's it's just like horrifying. It's absolutely just horrifying, the losses that Japan took. But again, they're in war, right? Japan, and I like how they went into detail, like, hey, if the government of the people, like, of Japan actually cared about civilians, it wouldn't have lost half its soldiers to supplies. It wouldn't have, not protected its people from the bombings, right? It would have done all these things. I like how they directly addressed the crimes that Japan did to its own people. That, again, something that I'm like, oh, okay, that's... I was expecting them to not even mention that and kind of be like, woe is me again. But no, they directly address it. So, again, one of those things where I'm like, okay. Again, just a really good use of, how do I put this? A very good use of, oh god, what is it? Just the setting and the tone, everything like that. And again, Kochi, the main guy, you assume he's going to kill himself after potentially losing his significant other, but no, she actually ends up being alive at the end. Goddamn, brought me to tears. And he actually ejects from the plane, so he kamikazes himself, but he manages to escape, and while killing Godzilla, getting the killing blow, which again, it's just a good crowd pleaser movie too. I was not expecting, especially how dark this movie gets. It's like, okay, he's gonna die. You just, especially with his expressions, you just assume this man's gonna die, but no, it's so good. Anyway, my cat wants me to go, so let me know what you guys think. Again, leave your comments down below. Again, don't expect this review to get too many review or like comments or anything like that. But hey, if you do comment, thank you for your support on this channel. Hopefully I will have more content soon. Again, I have plenty of monster movies downstairs I want to review. Do I have it up there? I mean, yeah, I have The Thing. Wait, is it? Yeah, I have The Thing up there. I have Mosquito downstairs. I have Sleepwalkers. Like, I have a ton of monster movies that and also all the Gamera films. I have a ton of monster movies I would love to talk about. Time is just one of those factors, right? But maybe it's just reorganizing my efforts to kind of lay things out. Maybe I have to do some of that. But we'll see how that goes in the future. Thank you again for right now, for watching, subscribing, doing what you guys do best, and I'll see all you guys next time.